Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I call it to order our February 21st, 2023 regular scheduled meeting for Board of Commissioners. Thank you for joining us tonight. I've asked Mayor Pro Tem Smith to lead us in our invocation and retired Police Chief Laura Fonstock to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Glad that you're here tonight. Please stand.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the opportunity you give us to live in a community like Fuquay-Varina. Thank you for the opportunity to live in this state and this nation. Lord, we thank you that across this country, people can gather just like us in a town boardroom and discuss issues along with our citizens about issues that affect our town, affect their way of life. So Lord, we thank you for that privilege, and I pray that those of us on this board will never take that lightly, that we'll give great thought and concern to every issue that comes before us, and I pray you'll give us wisdom as we vote on those issues. Father, we do pray for our folks, our employees who work so hard, those who are battling sickness, those who are just out serving every day, doing different things for our town. We thank you for them and thank you for their dedication to their jobs and to our citizens and to our town. Now, Father, I pray now that you'll bless this time we're having together tonight. We pray that everything that's said and done here tonight would be pleasing in your sight. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Chief?
Please face the flag and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Retired Police Chief Fonstock used to lead us in pledge quite often before you had retired, so glad to see you. Meeting protocol. At this time, I ask that Town Manager Mitchell review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting. Adam, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, board members. It's good to be with you tonight. Tonight's board meeting is both in person and live streamed on the town's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Tonight's meeting contains a public comment period and 2 scheduled public hearings. The public is invited to comment in person. When it is the appropriate time, Mayor Massengill will call on those wishing to address the town board. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the town board during the public comment period should provide your name and address on the registration sheet by the podium prior to the public comment period beginning. We ask all those wishing to address the town board either during the public comment period or a scheduled public hearing to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak can be heard in a timely manner. To be respectful of those that may have different views on matters addressed by the town board, we ask all in attendance to respect the decorum of the meeting by refraining from clapping, making loud noises, and generally showing support or displeasure for comments made during the public comment period or public hearings. Police Chief Medina will be asked to escort from the boardroom anyone not respecting the process, as it is the discretion of the mayor as presiding officer of the meeting as to whether or not to continue the public comment and or public hearing period if the meeting protocol is not followed. And this concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Manager. First item of business on our agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes from the February 6, 2023 Town Board regular scheduled meeting. Any changes or additions to the minutes? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 6, 2023 Town Board of Commissioners regular scheduled meeting as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is presentation. Item 4A, North Carolina League of Municipalities Law Enforcement Risk Review, Fuquay-Varina Police Department. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Police Chief Medina and Matthew Sales with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Chief, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. At this time, I would like to take the opportunity to thank everyone for allowing us and actually directing us back in 2021 to conduct this risk review that started under Chief Fonstock's tenure. And when I was put in place in April, pretty much took over the process and actually had an individual that was directed to ensure that we were compliant. So we did a big review of all of our policies and procedures. And at this time, I'd like to take a moment to recognize Lieutenant McDonald. He is one of the ones that worked tirelessly and make sure that our policies and procedures exceeded the expectations of the risk review. And just want to take a moment to recognize Lieutenant McDonald for his hard work in this process.
Lieutenant, thank you for your help.
Matthew Selves has been very instrumental during this risk review. He first met with us and explained the expectations and what he would be looking for. And so we had to redo our policies and procedures to make sure that the verbiage was actually current to what they were expecting to find. So at this time, I'd like to present Matthew Selves with the North Carolina League of Municipalities so he can give you the report.
Thank
Matthew
you, Chief.
Selves.
Matthew, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, and my name is Matthew Sells, and I'm the Law Enforcement Risk Management Consultant with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Thank you, Mayor Massengale, Fuquay-Varina Board of Commissioners, for this time in recognizing the Police Department in completing the Law Enforcement Risk Review process. Now, to understand this, the risk review involves a very comprehensive agency review of high-risk policies, operations, and practices, and includes a detailed on-site administrative and operations review as well, including looking at the facility, looking at equipment, both in the vehicles and in the PD, officer interviews, facility inspections, operations and procedures, all to validate the practices that the PD is aligned with the policies and in turn industry's best practices as well. We specifically look at those high-risk liability areas, like I mentioned earlier, that consist of police vehicle operations, general everyday driving, pursuit, emergency response, response to active resistance, or as you would know, use of force, risk assessment type stuff, evidence processing, employment practices, hiring, all through the very end. Again, training, in addition to many more categories. There's 39 categories in all that we look at here at the League of Municipalities. Now, the review is supported by the North Carolina Police Chiefs Association. And again, I'm proud to report this evening that the Fuquay-Varina Police Department has successfully completed the law enforcement risk review process. The chief, the command staff, and the department's officers prioritized this initiative, as the chief mentioned, in April and since 2021. And completed the process and the department's priority. Again, they are very proactive and involved during the whole process and procedure. I want to thank Chief Medina, and as he mentioned, Lieutenant McDonald, and the department's command staff that are here for their leadership and their willingness to participate in this very important initiative. They're very open and transparent during the whole process. I myself has spent 26 years in law enforcement, 12 years as a police chief in Troutman, North Carolina, in Iredell County, and have additionally worked with numerous agencies across the state, along with this department and many others. The officers that I've worked with observe and demonstrate a very high level of commitment to their communities and in best practice enhance professional policing to positively impact our communities and relationships throughout North Carolina. And again, I have a plaque to present to the chief, the department, and the town. And the plaque recognizes this, the Fuquay Police Department, for completing the law enforcement risk management review and proactively serving the community in a professional manner while taking steps to minimize risk to their citizens and to officers, presented today, February 21st, 2023. Thank you. Chief?
Come on up here, Chief. this right here, the North Carolina League of Municipalities recognizes Fuquay-Varina Police Department for completing the law enforcement risk management review and proactively serving the community in a professional manner while taking steps to minimize risk to our citizens and officers, presented on February 21st, 2023. I'll make a couple comments about this before we take a picture with you gentlemen here tonight, and men and women. First of all, thank you for participating in this process right here. This is important to show our community the hard work that you have and done in your department and what goes on in your department right now, and the visibility that you have. You're active in our community currently. You often are seen, and I had no doubt in my mind that you hold the utmost integrity and professional manner that you do. And so thank you for mitigating risk out there. Thank you for participating in this and continue to do your job every day. I think this police department right here shows how well of a job they do in Fuquay-Varina and is respected throughout Wake County and in North Carolina from a simple standpoint of you stay filled. You stay filled with your positions. You have a waiting list of people that want to come and work in this department. And that shows that this department has integrity and works hard and follows laws, and our citizens have faith in you and security in you at the same time. If that was not the case, you would not have people knocking on your door wanting to come work in your department. And so myself and this board very much appreciate what yourselves do and everybody in your department. This is the command staff that's here tonight that's recognizing this and has worked hard with this, but the command staff can only be as good as every single officer and every single employee within the police department is. And that is shown here in regards with the league. And Matthew would have came here tonight and at the same time and shared with the board or anybody here if things were differently in that case right here. So thank you for participating in this. Thank you for showing what you were doing so good. I'm very proud of you. This board is very proud of y'all. Keep Fuquay-Varina safe every day. So congratulations. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to acknowledge that this is the culmination of an outcome that initially was a very intense conversation about some citizens wanted an assessment of the police department. And a lot of those issues were around the use of force issues. And being a member of the North Carolina League of Municipalities and knowing Brian Laird and knowing that an assessment that was requested would identify any strengths and weaknesses in our department, knowing that there would be a willingness to accept whatever the outcome would be. You know, I encouraged the assessment, and I'm glad that we were able to complete it, to show and to learn from this process. And it was a beautiful process. It was a comprehensive process, because being aware of what the league does, I know that it was comprehensive, and it should have answered a lot of questions or doubt that citizens may have had about the police department here in Fuquay, and how professional the police department is, and how well trained our officers are, and how our officers actually care about citizens. So I'm just elated to see this process, and I hope that the outcome of the assessment, the report, would be available to those citizens who may want to read or further peruse whatever the assessment entailed. So, Mr. Mayor, again, I'd like to thank everyone for that process, and I'm so glad that we've gotten to this point. So thank you very much.
Good gentlemen. Gentlemen? Okay.
Appreciate all you do. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate all you do.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate your work.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Appreciate your work.
Appreciate it. For your time, sir. So much.
Chief Matthew Sales just mentioned to me to make sure that that gets hung in the PD lobby. It needs to be hung with pride. I said, I'm sure y'all will be doing that. So congratulations. At this time, the town clerk will call on individuals that are in attendance and have registered to address the town board prior to the meeting. The public comment period is a time for the public to address the town board about any matter that is not the subject of a scheduled public hearing. Those speaking are asked to begin by clearly stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak, may be heard in a timely manner. Sorry, call you Rose. Teresa, do you have anybody signed up?
We have one tonight, Brian Babcock.
Mr. Babcock, welcome.
Good evening, Brian Babcock, 516 Broad Street, Samantha's Jewelry. I'd like to make a few comments concerning the pending social district proposal. Over the past 15 years, my wife and I have had the pleasure of serving the community. Over this time, we've seen many positive changes, as well as some of the growing pains. There's no doubt change is inevitable. However, the adoption of this social district proposal will have a profound negative impact on the historical image, values, and safety associated with the community. With only 3 minutes, I'm not going to waste a lot of time rehashing many of the concerns raised in previous meetings. Public safety, illegal consumption, crime, sanitation, negative influence on our youth. To some extent, these issues exist today. However, the adoption of this proposal will create an environment that only exacerbate these issues. I trust with a little critical thought, you recognize the risk of this proposal far outweigh any perceived benefits. However, for the sake of argument, let's assume for a moment we live in a utopia where we can throw up a few signs and these issues no longer exist. Our only focus is to bring additional people downtown and increase foot traffic. That sounds great. So how are these people getting downtown? Where are they going to park when they get here? The reality is the growth of downtown is largely gated by people's willingness to fight traffic and find a place to park. The town's previous parking study and the current transit study recognize both these issues. Regretfully, in the case of the parking study, studies without action merely tell us what we already know. Every day we hear there's no place to park, the traffic is horrible. Although not easy, these are the issues that need to be addressed. And increasing alcohol consumption is not going to change that reality. Now, I certainly appreciate the creativity and the branding that's gone into the social district proposal and pushed by the special interest groups. However, this is merely a guise to enable bar hopping through downtown. It will not create a larger economic growth. And it truly embodies the Winston Churchill quote, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." So what is the extent the town will capitulate to the special interest groups? Sacrifice a little public safety, a little increase in crime, the morality of our youth. I trust after careful consideration, the board will maintain the historical image, values, and safety that has made Fuquay-Varina a great family-friendly community and reject the social district proposal. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Teresa, do you have anybody else signed up?
No.
Okay, thank you. There are no items tabled from previous meetings for this evening. Before we go into our public hearings, Commissioner Haynes, did you have an item you wanted to bring up?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I guess coming off the back of the comments that were just made, just in full transparency, as I told the management and town board during our board retreat, I will be absent from the next meeting. And for full transparency, I don't want people to think I'm avoiding the vote of social districting next month, but my best friend is getting married in South Africa, so I will be in South Africa, and I just can't avoid that, going on that trip. So I'm asking, and I'm gonna make a motion that, we move the vote, and I don't wanna prolong this anymore, because I know we've prolonged it enough, but to move it back to our next meeting of March the 21st.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yes, sir.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. This item will be taken up on our agenda at the second meeting in March for this, the date that Commissioner Haynes quoted right then. Manager, if you will adjust the, future agenda for that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda are public hearings. Public hearings are a time for the petitioner to present his or her request and for the public to give input and voice their favor or opposition to the request. If you wish to speak and are physically in attendance, please step forward for the podium, one at a time. Provide your name and address on the registration log at the podium and clearly state your name and address for the public record. We ask all those addressing the town board to please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Our first public hearing tonight is item 7A, fiscal year 2023 to 2024 budget, pre-budget public input hearing. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Finance Director Crabtree. Joanne, good evening.
Good evening. Let's see. I'll ask Katie Lum if she'll come up. She is the town's budget and fiscal strategy manager, and she has really worked hard since she has been here to help with the budget process. And I wanted to also bring last year, the town was awarded by GFOA the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the fiscal year 22-23 for the budget document. One criteria to get this award is to provide public input opportunities into the budget process. So the purpose of this hearing tonight is to receive public comments in advance of the development for the 23-24 recommended budget. The town has offered the opportunity for input through Let's Talk FV through today, as well as advertisement on social media. So we're hold the public hearing now, but this is an important part of the budget process, and I'm very proud of all the work that she has done to win this award for last year. And so this was our inaugural year, and we're hoping to keep this going. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Joanne, that's exactly right, and we recognize that at a previous meeting, and so we'll follow the process and continue that process. And so each year, do you apply for it, or do they recognize you? How does that work each year with the award?
Yeah, she prepared, just like we do with the ACER award for the financial, the budget, there's a budget document, which we have it on the website for last year. But it goes into a little more than just all the numbers. I'm a numbers person, but for citizens, sometimes it's better to have a shortened version with some pictures and more description of what it is instead of just seeing all numbers all the time. Mm-hmm. So that was presented to GFOA, have to fill out an application, and then we actually received the award for the first time. So it's a lot of extra work, but it's worth it.
Well, I agree completely. It's worth it, and thank y'all for doing that. And as you mentioned, not only is tonight a pre-budget opportunity for somebody to formally speak at this meeting, but you mentioned how we've had Let's Talk FV active, and then any of this board has received any emails or public input, any comments, and you continue to receive input. And then as we have a full public hearing in the future and workshops, all the way up until the budget's voted on tonight, there's a public hearing the night of the final budget to be voted on, so multiple opportunities for the public to have input on something.
Yes, in the budget process right now, all the departments have actually put in their requests, and so we want to make sure the citizens also have time to come forth at this public hearing if they want to have some input into it and just, have a piece of the process.
And your departments at the same time, they're taking input from our citizens in areas that they know services need to be increased or changed in those areas, and they take that into account on their budget. And because that's what they're doing at the end of the day, is serving the citizens.
Yep.
Thank you. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to provide input for the town board pertaining to the fiscal year 2023 to 2024 budget? Tonight's hearing is now closed. As I mentioned, there are more opportunities in the future if anyone here that's watching online at home or thinks of something later to provide input. Input is welcome by this board and encouraged to do so too. This portion of the public hearing is closed, but your time for future comments is not closed. You still can provide feedback. There's no action requested of the town board related to this public hearing tonight. It's simply for a moment for in-person public input. But as I mentioned, there are more opportunities. Thank you. Next public hearing is item 7B, voluntary annexation petition, Jeremy Whipple, Whipple Auto Sales, 3800 Opportunity Lane, ANX-2022-13. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Planning Director Davison.
Thank
Pam,
you.
good evening.
Good evening. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official records of the town. So this property is 2.72 acres at 3800 Opportunity Lane. It is contiguous or non-contiguous to the town's corporate limits, but does have access to both water and sewer. Fire flow tests came out successful, so it meets our standards. Because it's commercial property, the town does not need to provide trash and recycling services. So we are here tonight basically to, you can see where it is, to adopt the annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits to the town of Fuquay-Varina to include property owned by Jeremy Whipple, Whipple Auto Sales, ANX 2022-13, as presented and recommended.
Director Davison, you mentioned this property right here, and there's a water line on Main Street going past it, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. There's also, let me get back. There's also a water line in Opportunity Lane,
On Opportunity Lane too, some multiple.
and there's sewer there, and also in Fayetteville Road.
Will they be connected to sewer?
I believe so. It's available.
It's available for them right there. And this will be coming into our tax value for Fuquay-Varina. And as you've noted right there, it's over $1 million in tax value right there.
Yep.
Good. Thank you, Director Davison. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the voluntary annexation petition? Welcome.
Good evening. I'm representing the applicant. My name is Chris Rakowski with TMTLA Associates. We went ahead and submitted this application for the client, Jeremy Whipple here. So just happy to answer any questions you guys might have regarding anything about this annexation. That's all I've got.
All right.
Thank you, though.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak in favor of the voluntary annexation petition? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the voluntary annexation petition? The hearing is now closed. Is there any discussion by the board, or what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina to include the property owned by Jeremy Whipple, ANX 2022-13, as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. What's the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, hearing no other comments, I move that we approve the consent agenda, items A, B, C, D, E, and F, as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. A couple comments I want to make real quick there, management, in regards to this is item 8B, maintenance acceptance right there on Northwest Judd Parkway. That's something we've worked toward in the past, wanting to get this meet. Well, we build the roads and then DOT ultimately pay maintenance on there, and that will help us be able to use that come come from the state, is that correct?
That is correct. And we built the Northwest Judd Parkway to NCDOT standard. We had to go through a process after the final construction was closed out to request the DOT accept maintenance responsibilities. So this is the culmination of that effort. But yes, sir, that's the goal, is to have NCDOT take ownership of the perpetual maintenance and responsibility of that roadway.
I know road improvements and traffic improvements sometimes seems to be a very slow process, and this is a prime example of how slow things move from that standpoint. That road was built several years ago.
Yes, sir.
At this point. Second item on there, you're talking about abandonment of public right-of-way, declaring intent to close a portion of Ido Lane. That is part of that whole development corridor right there, and the road improvements that are coming to Mill Creek Road and Highway 401 and Wallace Adcock Boulevard coming through there.
That's right. We're beginning to take the steps at the process to allow for construction to commence on those roadway projects, as well as the future Gold Leaf Crossing shopping center complex will be coming forth in the future as well.
Wallace Adcock Boulevard, we received a grant from the state to build part of that road also, which
We
comes in
did $9 million. For
$9
that.
million of state money for that new road. It's going to help relieve 5 Points intersection at bottlenecks.
It will. It will have a contribution there.
What is the target estimated start of that road, Wallace Adcock Boulevard?
My understanding is that the developer, the responsible party for building that road, will begin grading and turning dirt late spring, early summer of this year.
That's great. So very near future, we'll start seeing improvements
sir.
coming right there. I know myself, and the board, and the public's excited to see that get underway there. So call them tonight after the meeting, tell them we approve the abandonment and get to work.
All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no administrative reports for this evening. However, there is other business. First item, manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items just to bring the board up to speed on. As it pertains to economic development, our economic development department, the community engagement session for the downtown generational master plan will be held on March 23rd from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Fuquay-Varina Arts Center. So we encourage anyone from the public that has an interest in the future of our downtown to be sure to put March 23rd on their calendar and hopefully attend in person the community engagement session for this important planning process. As it pertains to our engineering department, Matt Poling, our engineering director, attended the state's Sedimentation Control Commission this morning. The commission and their staff gave positive feedback for the town's local erosion control program and voted to continue delegation of that program to the town. So this is an important step in the process of our continued work in making sure that sedimentation erosion control is handled in an appropriate manner as development occurs here in town. So thank you, Matt, for attending that meeting on behalf of the town. Our Parks and Recreation and Cultural Resources Department hosted the first Daddy-Daughter dance on February 17th. We had 130 participants for that dance program on February 17th, so it was widely attended, popular. Recreation program participation has experienced a 100% increase in registration in 2022. So our programming continues to be popular, to be well participated in by members of our community, and just demonstrates the great work that our Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources staff is doing to offer wonderful programs here in our community. As it pertains to Public Works, Sanitation Department received the second new garbage truck budgeted for this year that positions the town to keep pace with customer growth. The Streets Department managed repairs of 2 failing storm drains that were discovered through a focus on aging stormwater infrastructure, with inspections funded in the current operating budget. And our debris department is collecting debris quantity data to help improve safety, efficiency, and quality of collection procedures in order to provide the highest level of service to our customers. And so a lot of good progress, good work coming out of our Public Works Department under all divisions within the department. As it pertains to our Finance Department, we recently solicited bids for audit services and should have a recommendation at our next town board meeting on a consultant for those services. And departmental budget submittals, as our finance director mentioned, were received last week and are currently under review by management and staff. As it pertains to our Art Center, this weekend's presentation of Life is Magic by Josh Lozoff is sold out. Not surprising that we continue to sell out events at our Art Center. Tickets are currently available from Mike Wiley in Fire of Freedom on March 3rd. And our summer camp registration is open at the Art Center. We will have 11 weeks of art camps and 4 weeks of musical theater camps. So a lot of great programming going on this summer for children in our community. Excited to inform the board that our police department and our fire department are teaming up with the Sleep in Heavenly Peace program to host a friendly competition of building beds for children in need. This event will take place on May 6th at a place to be determined in the future. So we'll see which department has the better bed building skills between our police and fire department. But a good cause nonetheless for children in need in our community. And if you haven't noticed, if you haven't had a chance to drive by Wade Nash Road, steel is going vertical on Fire Station number 4. So it's looking good. We're making progress. Weather has been cooperative with us for the last week or so. And of course, this week is phenomenal weather-wise. So hopefully our contractor can make good headway and keep the progress moving forward on our Fire Station number 4. You do have a financial quarterly report included in your agenda materials. If you haven't had the opportunity to read that yet, I would encourage you to review that. We are trending well. Of course, you as a town board got a pretty in-depth view of those financials at our town board retreat. But nonetheless, the report is in there. It gives some good information about how we are trending for this year so far through 2 quarters of the fiscal year. Our Art Center, again, mentioned Life is Magic on February 25th at 7:30 p.m. We have another Coffee with a Cop scheduled at Eggs Up Grill, a community favorite. It seems like a popular spot, 1436 North Main Street. This is Tuesday, March 7th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. I believe our last Coffee with the Cop on Valentine's Day was well attended. And a successful event. And then on March 6th, our next town board meeting, before the town board meeting at 6:30 p.m., Mayor Massengill will deliver the State of the Town address to our community. So encourage, of course, you as board members, for those who are in the country, we'll need to be here before 6:30. All right, we'll need to be here by 6:30 p.m. We encourage and invite anyone from the public that would like to attend and hear the State of the Town address live from Mayor Massengill to be here before 6:30 p.m. We'll start at 6:30 p.m. sharp so that we can get the town board meeting rolling just soon after the mayor delivers that speech. And then we do have a first reading included in your agenda materials, a town code amendment for our Land Development Ordinance Amendment 22. This is CTA 22-08, and this was unanimously recommended for board approval at last night's planning board meeting. Happy to answer any questions the town board might have. Otherwise, I've presented all I have under manager's report. We do have a closed session this evening that I'll cite the statute when we get to that part of the agenda, Mayor.
Thank you, Manager. Chief, you mentioned Coffee with a Cop on Valentine's Day. Did Cupid's arrow strike anybody that day? No, sir. Pretty straightforward. Okay. No Cupid arrows. Okay, we're moving to town board member comments. Commissioner Gardner, perfect timing for you.
Yes. Shall I say I was otherwise detained tonight at my office, and I'm so sorry. But glad to be here just the same.
We're glad to have you, ma'am. We do have a closed session tonight, though.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, any comments?
Sure. I'm still elated about our retreat. I thought that the information presented was very well explained. It was a lot of information, I'm sure, prepared by the management and staff, and you ought to be complimented. It was a great opportunity for us as a board to get together and talk in a different environment, which it made the communication even better. And it's always uplifting when you can see people out of their suits and ties in a sort of an informal setting, and you can have good conversation about issues that are so important to the town of Fuquay and the future of this town. And it gives each of us an opportunity that's a little bit different than sitting here, where we can really have dialogue and talk about issues that are so important to us as a community. And the other exciting thing that happened this month was that I was invited by the Fuquay High School to attend their Black History program. And I tell you, those young people, boy, there was so much energy in the room. It was a well-planned event, and Alex Flowers was the presenter, and they had the choral group there and dancing, and it was just a great time to be in that kind of environment, and the students were just excited about Alex and the way his presentation struck them, because he talked about the issues of resistance, and he just built his entire talk on resistance. And I think that idea and concept was very well received by the students there. So that was a great opportunity to do that, Mr. Mayor. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Commissioner Haynes.
Piggybacking off of Commissioner Harris, just to really thank the staff and management for how organized the town board retreat was, where we talked about a lot of different things and we compacted so many things, but it was so organized that it ran smoothly through the whole thing. We were able to have, like he said, very transparent conversation, and we understand, and we were able to see, we're looking at 20, 30 years down the road now, so we're trying to make sure that what we're talking about, not just in front of you, but when we're at these board retreats, is making sure that we're planning for the future, so we can always be proactive in everything we do. So I definitely want to thank all the management and staff for all your hard work, because I know it took every department to make this happen. So definitely thank that. And then when I was on my way back from board retreat on that Saturday, I started getting text messages, phone calls, and everything, and they were like, I think half the police department is at Pine Acres. So I'm like, what are y'all talking about? We had food giveaway that day, and I got text messages and phone calls from so many people who were actually volunteering there, and start taking pictures and sending pictures to me about the police department was there. Oftentimes the police chief comes and he's tried to be incognito so people don't know who he is, but then everybody knows who he is. He tries not to wear his uniform or anything, but I definitely thank the police department. The presence in the community definitely was shown, and people were talking about it at church on Sunday and different things like that. So I definitely want to thank the police department for coming out and volunteering. I feel like, that's community. We're all helping each other in so many different ways. So that's community. And there's one last thing. On that same day, on that same Saturday, me and Commissioner Harris are part of Golden Star Lodge, number 150, which is down here on 42, and throughout the years, for so many years, masonry was divided by color. And I wanted to applaud our lodge, as well as the Masonic Lodge right here, Fuquay-Varina Masonic Lodge on 258 right here on Main Street. Throughout the years, we've became so close. We've been allowed to come in meetings that one time African Americans were not allowed to go into. So now we have that collaborative thing, and we were able to have our communication or our meeting actually at their lodge for the first time ever in history. And that just shows how much we've grown as people, as understanding that we're accepting each other, even though we've had racial lines, and it's so amazing that it happened during Black History Month as well, showing that we've put those things aside to understand that we're all brothers and sisters and be able to do something. So I definitely want to recognize that is very big. And if you don't understand, there's so many towns and cities who have what we call ancient and free masonry, which is usually a Caucasian lodge, and Prince Hall masonry, which is an African American lodge, who don't even talk to each other. So for us in Fuquay-Varina to be able to do that is amazing. That's really big. So I just wanted to definitely applaud both lodges and really show. And both of these lodges were established before the town of Fuquay-Varina was established. So to show that history, and we're still bringing each other together now, was an amazing thing. So I definitely want to recognize the heads of both of those lodges for doing that on this past Saturday. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Haynes. Some good things. Mayor Pro Tem Smith, any comments?
I don't have anything to add except just to second what Commissioner Haynes and Commissioner Harris said about the retreat. It was, been to several of them now. This one was very well organized, and it seemed like we covered so much material, yet we were able to get it all done and had some great discussions. Commissioner Harris said some great give and take, back and forth. It was actually fun. We had a good time with that. I was exhausted when I got home, just so y'all know, y'all worked us to death. But anyway, it was good. We got some good stuff done, but I'll just piggyback on what y'all said. It was an excellent retreat, and I think we got a lot of good plans kind of laid out where we direction we want to go, and I was really proud of that. That's all I got.
Thank you. You know, speaking of retreat, just as these men and women up here spoke about what goes on at retreat, a couple of highlights that I think that the public can look forward to hearing about over the future right here in regards to it. I believe just a moment ago, infrastructure was mentioned and setting up our town for the future right there. Set up our town for the future takes expanding water and sewer so we can recruit some of this high-end commercial development that we want in our town, high-end retail, and at the same time, roads. The amount of road projects that the public is going to see go under, that are finalizing design and will go to construction this year. And right behind that, a whole nother slate of road projects that this board put together staff put together at retreat and for the board to approve and look at next roads. We understand and hear that infrastructure and planning for the future are the most important things in our town. And so follow right behind that over these next handful of years in front of us. It's transformational projects that are coming to Fuquay-Varina right now. And so it's been heard and it's really going to make a difference. Quality of life, you know, not roads and infrastructure and water sewer obviously are parts of quality of life, but also we talked a lot about our parks and rec programs and facilities and outdoor type activities, and our staff departments also at the same time, how they need to be funded and what they can do to help increase quality of life and maintain our high quality of life right now for our citizens here in Fuquay-Varina. And all this ties back together too at the same time of economic development. We've had some great things mentioned over the past year in Fuquay-Varina, but also looking for our next opportunities and continue to recruit businesses and recruit good opportunities and keep our existing businesses in town. So board really did a good job on retreat, and staff, thank you management and staff for helping provide this information. Management presented it, but I know a lot of staff department heads are heavily involved with this too at the same time. So thank y'all for providing them the information. They made you look good. Did a good job on that. You know, there's been a lot of school events in our community. I know several board members up here have been attending school events throughout our community and more events that are coming up. There is, I think, a variety of schools that are having reading events that are coming up, and I know different ones up here are going to those and different departments that are going to them also, and so it gives a chance for these kids to really interact, and I look forward to attending those. And so it's amazing how much interaction with our students and our schools and kids, how much it means to them to see us come there and be able to talk to them and want them to know the same thing. We're personable. I want to be able to make them be able to relate to things there. So I appreciate all the board members that do that, and I look forward to those upcoming events too. You mentioned management, fire station number 4. What's interesting is yesterday, town hall was open, and it was a federal holiday or just a bank holiday?
Federal holiday.
Federal holiday. But our team was working hard, and at Fire Station 4, when I rode by it yesterday, Chief, you'd be proud to know there's over 100 workers out there working. Based on driving by at 55 miles an hour and counting as hard as I could, it was a ton of people out there working. And the slab was poured, as management mentioned a minute ago, directly to the steel, and so that fire station is progressing hard. I know the rain hurt you a little bit in the past with the sunny weather. Still, hopefully helps you catch up a little bit, but we're excited for that. The public's excited for that too right there. But it looks good. Keep an eye on them. I know you're by there daily, or somebody from your team is, and I'm by there as much as I can too to tell them to hurry up. So, thank you, Chief. Management, I believe we do have a closed session tonight, is that correct?
Yes, sir. A brief closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318.11A3, attorney-client privilege.
All right. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll clear the room. We'll go right into closed session.